Howard, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, Ryan. Good. How are you?
It's good to hear from you again. First off, Ja Morant's finish, versus or up against the Timberwolves collapse again with a lead. What did you think about that performance, especially after the slow start for him and then the finish that he had to get this team up 3-2?
I mean, we're all going to be talking about that dunk alone at the end of the third for forever, for the rest of time. But then the game-winning basket, it just showed all of his acrobatic athleticism, his coordination, and just his gutsiness besides. That was a really tough drive. That was a tough shot. And so this is how stars are made in this league. In the NBA, whatever you do during the regular season, and he was performing like an MVP for a lot of the season, but he missed too much of it to really be in the race at the end. But what we saw, what you see in the playoffs is what defines you. And what we saw of Ja Morant last night was one of those signature performances that tells you, I'm not just a great aerial show, though he is. I'm not just a highlight reel, though he is. But he can make winning plays. And it was, as I say, a gutsy move, an incredible move, one that not too many guys could have pulled off. And now the Grizzlies are in the driver's seat. I think the stat is, when these series are tied, if the team that wins Game 5 goes on to win the series about 85% of the time. So the Grizzlies are in good shape.
The Timberwolves on the other side of that coin, right? They continue to blow leads. I've heard some people talk about how this is because they're so young, an incredible learning experience, but that's not going to play into what happens this year. How do you view the Timberwolves getting into the playoffs first off, and then the performances late in these matchups?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, when a team doesn't have a lot of playoff experience and the Timberwolves, have very little to speak of as a unit, then it's fair to talk about lack of experience. It's fair to talk about youth. That said, Karl-Anthony Towns is, 26, 27 now? I mean, he's been in the league for a while.
Right.
He's 26. He's, this is, over time I get less patient with a guy. Like, you're in your early 20s, it's one thing. He's in his prime now. And, D'Angelo Russell is, right there in his mid-20s. They do rely a lot on Anthony Edwards, who, of course, is second-year player, 20 years old. They've got a few vets around. But, yeah, I mean, look, the core group is young-ish, and it's their first time in the playoffs together. We could chalk it up to some of that. We could say that maybe the Grizzlies are just a little bit more sound in who they are and maybe a little bit tougher. I think that is a fair observation as well. But, I think for the Timberwolves, assuming that, if they lose this series, which is what you would expect anyway. I mean, they were the 6th seed coming in. I think that this is a solid start on what they can become. And it was not that long ago that we were talking about, is Karl-Anthony Towns going to be one of the next stars to force his way out? Misspoke, 7th seed. So they come in as a 7th seed, and this is the usual path in the NBA. You're going to come in as one of the lower seeds of the young team. That's step one. You get knocked out in the first round. That's what we expect of 7 and 8 seeds. And then you come back the next year and you build on that. And the last time the Timberwolves broke through a few years ago under Tom Thibodeau and Jimmy Butler, it was short-lived because Jimmy Butler wanted out, and that was the end of that. This feels a little bit more sustainable, obviously, with in his prime Karl-Anthony Towns and a very young and spectacular Anthony Edwards.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.